Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Three tails, old yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Three tails, old yin. Two heads, one tail, young yin. We'll start by reading a short passage from the Book of Balance and Harmony. These essays, conversations, poetry, and songs about the secrets of Taoism teach how to live a centered and orderly life. The source message of the mystic school. Before reading that, I'll read a brief section from the introduction to the Book of Harmony and Balance, or the Book of Balance and Harmony. The body of illumination lasts forever, writes Lu in his song, Empty Yet Not Empty. The mirror of awareness contains the sky, accommodating all things. Using Buddhistic terminology, this song shows the characteristic complete reality understanding of immortalism on an essentially spiritual plane. Lu then follows with a classic prescription for attainment that is common to Chan Buddhism and ancient Taoism. When the home is empty and peaceful, the spirit naturally stays there, referring in typical metaphor to the practice of inward silence ordinarily used to break the force of mundane conditioning. Lu also emphasizes the common Chan Buddhistic practice of mindlessness, which in Taoist terms means freedom from the compulsions of the human mentality. Respond to people without minding, and spiritual transformation will be swift. The mindless mind is the real mind. When movement and stillness are both forgotten, that is dispassion. The source message of the mystic school. When you are calm and stable, careful of attention, the celestial design is always clear. Open awareness is unobscured. Then you have autonomy in action and can deal with whatever arises. The Absolute. The Absolute is movement and stillness without beginning, yin and yang without beginning. Buddhists call this complete awareness. Taoists call it the gold pill. Confucians call it the Absolute. What is called the infinite absolute means the limit of the unlimited. Buddha called it as is, immutable, ever clearly aware. The I-ming says tranquil and unperturbed, yet sensitive and effective. An alchemical text says, body and mind unstirring, subsequently there is yet an endless real potential. These all refer to the subtle root of the Absolute. So we know that what the three teachings of Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism esteem is calm, stability. This is what the Confucian master called being based on calm. When the human mind is calm and stable, before it is affected by things, it is merged in the celestial design. This is the subtlety of the Absolute. Once it is affected by things, then there is partiality. This is change of the Absolute. When you are calm and stable, careful of attention, the celestial design is always clear. Open awareness is unobscured. Then you have autonomy in action and can deal with whatever arises. With the maturation of practice of calm stability, one spontaneously arrives at this true restoration of the infinite, where the subtle responsive function of the absolute is clear and the design of the universe and all things is complete in oneself. Balance and harmony. Balance and harmony are the four directions centered on reality. In action, all is balanced. The record of rights says, when emotions have not yet emerged, that is called balance. When they are active, yet all in proportion, that is called harmony. Not having emerged means being careful of attention in the midst of calm stability. Therefore, it is called balance. Kept in attention, yet immaterial, it is therefore called the root of the world. Proportion in action means being careful of what is manifested in action. Therefore, it is called harmony. Balanced in all actions, it is called arrival at the way for the world. Truly, if one can be balanced and harmonious in oneself, then the being which is fundamentally so is clear and aware, awake in quietude, accurate in action. Thus one can respond to the endless changes in the world. Lao Tzu said, if people can be clear and calm, heaven and earth will come to them. This means the same thing as the saying, effect balance and harmony, and heaven and earth are in place. Myriad beings grow. Balance and harmony are the subtle functions of sensitive efficiency, the essential workings of response to change, the totality of the cyclic movement and stillness of the flow of production and growth spoken of in the I-ming. Allowing and following. Allow the body to be tranquil, the mind to be clear, society to be integrated, events to be spontaneous. Then body, mind, society, and events follow the order, way, time, and design of nature in responding to people, things, changes, and opportunities. Body, mind, society, and events are called the four conditions. All worldly people make these into entangling bonds. Only those who allow and follow can deal with them. Always dealing with them, yet always calm, one is no longer entangled. What is allowing? It means allowing the body to be tranquil, allowing the mind to be clear, allowing society to be integrated, allowing events to be spontaneous. What is following? It means following the order of nature, following the way of nature, following the timing of nature, following the design of nature. When the body follows the order of nature, one can therefore respond to people. When the mind follows the way of nature, one can therefore respond to things. When society follows the timing of nature, it is therefore possible to respond to change. When events follow the design of nature, it is therefore possible to respond to opportunities. When one can allow, can follow, and can respond, then one is free and clear in the midst of the four conditions. Those who see this way are always responsive, yet always calm, always clear and always pure. Shining and wandering. The shining mind is always calm. In action, it responds to myriad changes. Even when active, it is essentially always calm. The wandering mind is always stirring. In quietude, it produces myriad thoughts. Even when quiet, it is basically always astir. Of old, it has been said, always extinguish the stirring mind. Don't extinguish the shining mind. The unstirring mind is the shining mind. The mind which does not stop is the wandering mind. The shining mind is the mind of Tao. The wandering mind is the human mind. When it is said that the mind of Tao is vague, this means it is subtle and difficult to see. When it is said that the human mind is in peril, this means it is insecure and uneasy. Even in the human mind, there is the mind of Tao. Even in the mind of Tao, there is the human mind. It is a matter of persistently keeping centered and balanced in activity and stillness, so that the shining mind is always present and the wandering mind does not stir. Then what was insecure will become peaceful, and what was vague will become clear. At this point, the errant mind comes back, and the error-free Tao is accomplished. This is what the I-ming calls coming back to see the heart of heaven and earth. Statements. Forms all contribute to one another. Beings are immanent in one another. Thus evolution and development go on without end. The Tao is basically utterly open. Utter openness has no substance. It ends in endlessness, begins in beginninglessness. When openness culminates, it transforms into spirit. Spirit changes to produce energy. Energy masses into form. The one divides into two. With duality, there is sensing. With sensing, there is pairing of yin and yang and mutual interaction. The creative and the receptive establish their positions. Movement and stillness alternate unceasingly. Creativity, receptivity, vitality and spirit interdependent, the active and passive take over from one another. At this point, creativity, receptivity, desire, awareness, movement, stillness, attraction, and accord connect with the operation of essence, sense, spirit, vitality, and will, so that there is consistency, establishing the seasons of the life cycle. A harmonious process of distillation sustains origination and production. In heaven, it distributes the myriad forms. On earth, it nurtures all living beings. Forms all contribute to one another. Beings are immanent in one another. Thus, evolution and development go on without end. Everything in the world arises in being. Being arises in non-being. Being and non-being interpenetrate, concealing and revealing each other in mutual interdependence. Getting to the source of their beginning, we find all existence are based on energy. Discerning their end, we find all beings convert to form. Thus we know that all beings are basically one form and one energy. Form and energy are basically one spirit. Spirit is basically utter openness. The Tao is basically ultimate non-being. Change is therein. The position of heaven is above. The position of earth is below. Humans and other beings abide in the middle, spontaneously fluxing and evolving. Energy is therein. Heaven and earth are the greatest of beings. Humans are the most intelligent of animals. Heaven and humans are one. The universe is in their hands. Myriad developments arise in their bodies. Transformation is therein. The consummation of humanity is to establish life in the center of heaven and earth, to make essence of the endowment of open awareness. Establishing essence in life, spirit is therein. Life is connected to energy, essence is connected to spirit. Plunge the spirit into the mind, gather energy in the body. The Tao is therein. The enlightened make their energy and spirit complete. Through repeated harmonization, they naturally become real. The real within the real, the mysterious within the mysterious, the insubstantial producing a substantiality. This is called the embryonic immortal. If you want to reach the Tao, whence does it proceed? Be calm, be open, and there is hope of embryonic immortality. When open, there is no obstruction. When calm, there is no desire. When openness is complete and calmness profound, observe the process of nature and know its cycles. Let action proceed from calm. Be filled by maintaining openness. These two principles are complementary. Spirit and Tao are together. The Tao is the host of the spirit is the host of energy. Energy is the host of the body is the host of impulse. When there is no impulsiveness, the body rests. When the body rests, energy rests. When energy rests, spirit rests. When spirit rests, it does not dwell on anything. This is abiding without abode. When the jewel of life is crystallized and the pearl of essence is bright, the original spirit is aware and the embryonic immortal is complete. Then the path of open spontaneity is finished. How great is the spirit, the basis of transformation and evolution. And the introduction to secret meanings. To master change, nothing is more important than to know the time. To know the time, nothing is more important than to understand inner design. To understand inner design, nothing is more important than open calm. Our bottom or inner trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken, which is Kan, water. Kan is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. The top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, broken, broken. This is Kun, earth. Kun is earth, open to receive and support what comes to her, providing for its full development. She makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in an unconditional embrace. Earth is mother, found in the southwest and the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. Kun earth above Kan water gives us a primary hexagram of 7. Once our changing lines change, our 3rd and 5th lines, both old yin, will transform to yang yang. This will give us a bottom or inner trigram for our secondary or supporting hexagram of broken solid solid. This trigram is Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants. Whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available, or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. Our top or outer trigram of our secondary hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken, which again is Kan, water. So we will have as our supporting hexagram Kan above Xun, Kan, water above Xun, wind or wood. This gives us a secondary hexagram of 48. The way our supporting hexagram and primary hexagram relate to one another and our changing lines, if we want to understand the question we bring to the I Ching when we consult the oracle, that question having the context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time, we'll understand the answer to that when we understand how the parts of our reading work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. We'll turn first to the Taoist I Ching, written by I-ming in 1796 as a Taoist adept, and Thomas Cleary has translated it for us. In the beginning, we have some succinct definitions of each hexagram. Our primary hexagram 7 has the succinct definition of the army, using the primordial to repel conditioning, using the real to get rid of the false. And 48 is our supporting hexagram, the well, accumulation of effort to cultivate character, nurturance of others. We'll start by reading the text section of both of our hexagrams, which will contain our changing lines, and then we will move on to the commentary section, which does not contain the changing lines. So we'll need to note that once we get to our changing lines, those are the most focused part of our reading and take precedence over all other elements. It sticks a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. Primary hexagram 7, the army. For the leader of the army to be right, a mature person is good, then there is no error. Explanation. The army is a group. This has the meaning of one person leading a group. The qualities of the hexagram are earth above, submissive, and water below, dangerous. Following obediently in danger, it is therefore called the army. This hexagram represents using yang to drive back yin. It follows on the previous hexagram, waiting. Waiting is advancing yang in accord with the time, and advancing yang is the way to drive yin back. The method of repelling yin is to get rid of wrong by means of right, to destroy falsehood by truth, like righteousness in the leader of an army. The leader of the army is the way of punishment and execution. It requires both firmness and flexibility, both humanity and justice, command of authority and ability to change in order to be effective. Otherwise, if one can be firm but not flexible, or if one is only humane and does not know how to apply justice, or if one is only dutiful and does not know how to act humanely, none of this is right, and without correctness, good fortune cannot be attained. Instead, one will provoke censure. Only mature and developed people understand good and bad, distinguish wrong from right, know what bodes well and what bodes ill, perceive when to hurry and when to relax, are not confined to either firmness or flexibility, apply both humanity and justice together, are able to obey in danger and by obedience neutralize danger, use the temporal to restore the primordial, use the primordial to transmute the temporal. Not only do not let yin trap yang, but even get all yin to follow yang. This is the path of good fortune without error. If people are immature, their perception of truth is not clear. They do not distinguish wrong from right, and so enter aberrated detours. They set out impulsively and not only are unable to make yin retreat, they even accentuate yin. They are sure to bring on error. How can they affect good results and achieve the Tao? When people have not yet lost the primordial, this is pure natural reality. It is like when the nation is at peace. Even if there are intelligent knights and good generals, there is no need of them. Then when people get mixed up in acquired conditioning, their senses trouble them and their emotions run wild. It is like when there is trouble in the land, with rebels causing disturbance. If there is no way of rooting them out by punishment and execution, it is impossible to restore peace in perilous times. Therefore, the method of striving in spiritual alchemy is to burn away all the pollution of acquired conditioning and not let the slightest flaw remain in the heart, so that one may eventually re-experience original completeness. This is why the path of direction is valued. And secondary or supporting hexagram 48, the well. The well, changing the village, not changing the well. No loss, no gain. Those who come and go use the well as a well. If the rope does not reach all the way into the well, or if the bucket breaks, that is unfortunate. Explanation. A well is water with a source, which nourishes people inexhaustibly. It has the meaning of nurturance, development. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is water, dangerous, and below is wind, penetrating, gradually progressing so as to get through danger. Though there is danger, one can get out of it, as wood plunged in water emerges from the water. Therefore, this hexagram is called the well. This hexagram represents accumulation of effort to cultivate virtue. It follows on the previous hexagram, rising. Rising means harmonious progress in practice, a way to increase spiritual virtue. When spiritual virtue increases and one has accordingly advanced to the state where there is no difficulty or danger, the basis is firm and stable. Free from danger, oneself, one can then resolve others' problems. With this, one accumulates achievement and cultivates virtue, using what one has developed in oneself to nurture others' development. Genuine within, this genuineness reaches out, so there is benefit to others and no harm to self. This is like a well. Changing the village doesn't change the well. No loss, no gain. Passers-by use the well as a well. When the self-development of practitioners of Tao is sufficient, this is like a well having water in it. To develop others after having developed oneself is like changing the village. To develop others by one's own development is like not changing the well. Development of others must be based on self-development. As is self-development, so is development of others. This is like a well having no loss, no gain. Developing others by self-development, others and self are both nurtured. This is like those who come and go using the well as a well. If one insists on trying to teach people before one has attained the Tao oneself, this is called lacking the basis. Development without the basis lacks inward mastery. Arbitrarily used, it creates confusion, and without having helped anyone else, one first loses oneself. This is like trying to get water from a well, but the rope does not reach all the way, or the well water breaks the bucket. One brings misfortune on oneself. This is because the business of guiding others comes after the completion of the great path. When the path is completed, mind and body are autonomous. Based on previous realization to enlighten others, one can thus benefit others and not harm oneself. Therefore, the main theme in each of the 6 lines is self-development. Going back to hexagram 7, the army, to read our changing lines 3 and 5, which have the general context of changing line 3, an emerging identity, facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision, and line 5, strength and self-determination, clear vision, being in command. Our changing lines are our most focused part of our reading. Again, they take precedence over all other elements. put a pin in the map and say you are here, or here are some places you may find yourself. They may not both conform to one another. They may conflict. If that's the case, we're to just take that all and all on it and see what it means for us. Changing line 3 of the army. The army has casualties, bad luck. Explanation. If one acts ignorantly on one's own without knowing the method of advance and withdrawal of the firing process, courting danger on the chance of striking it lucky, though one seeks long life, one instead hastens death. This is the calamity of casualties. This represents the adventurers who do not know how to make yin withdraw. And changing line 5. There are animals in the fields. It is beneficial to catch them. There will be no blame. A mature person is to lead the army. If it is an immature person, there will be casualties. For even if he is righteous, the outlook is bad. Explanation. Flexible receptivity and balance, one opens the mind and manages oneself, responding appropriately to whatever comes, causing external influences to dissolve of themselves. This is like when there are animals in the fields, it is beneficial to catch them. However, reason convinces superior people, while law restrains petty people. It is necessary to have both firmness and flexibility to manage affairs successfully. If one is only flexible without firmness, that can cause failure. A mature person leading the army means flexibility balanced by firmness can accomplish affairs. If it is an immature person, there will be casualties, means being only flexible without firmness can ruin affairs. This means to cause yin to retreat requires firmness and flexibility to balance and equalize each other. We will also turn to the commentary section, which does not contain our changing lines. Reading our primary hexagram 7, the army. Earth above, water below. There is water in the earth, the army. Thus does the superior person embrace the people and nurture the masses. The army is one leading a multitude. Above is earth, below is water. This is the presence of water in the earth. The earth is broad, water is wet. In the earth there is water. One earth embraces myriad waters. Myriad waters moisten one earth. This is the image of the army. What superior people see in this is that the human body is like a country, and the mind is like the ruler. The vitality, spirit, nature, feeling, and energy in the body are like the people. The benevolence, justice, courtesy, knowledge, and truthfulness in the nature are like the masses. These people, these masses, are the basis of human life and must be protected and cared for. Therefore, the root is stabilized by embracing the people. External afflictions are prevented by nurturing the masses. But it is first necessary to embrace the people in the sense of first mastering oneself inwardly. After that, one nurtures the masses in the sense of managing externally. Inward mastery protects one from externals. Managing externally affords one inner peace. When the inner and the outer balance each other, then everything follows the mind, whether in adversity or comfort. Such is the path of the leader of the army, and such is the path of the superior person embracing and nurturing. And supporting hexagram 48. The well, water above, wind below. There is water above wood, a well. Thus do superior people comfort the people and urge reciprocity. The well has the meaning of nourishing people. Above is water, below is wind, associated with wood. There is water above wood. When water rises above wood, the wood is moistened and becomes pliable, being nurtured by the water. This is the image of the well. What superior people see in this is that the people must be nourished, and when they are nourished, they must be educated. Therefore, they teach them to work so as to have plenty of food and warm clothing, so as to nourish their bodies and teach them to know courtesy and understand duty, to get along in harmony and to help each other, so as to nourish their minds. When body and mind are both nourished, people return to pristine simplicity and purity, forget their travail, become unified, and enter the realm of unconscious obedience to the laws of God. The human body is the country. The human spirit is the people. To order the spirit and carry out the Tao day and night is to comfort the people. To take to good, correct faults, get rid of falsehood and keep truth, combine vitality, energy, and spirit, and join the earthly to the celestial. This is urging reciprocity. This kind of comfort is that whereby one forgets falsehood. This kind of urging is that whereby one cultivates reality. When falsehood leaves and reality remains, the path of nourishment is consummated. We'll now turn to James Dekorne to read a synthesis of various commentaries and his own editor's notes, which are often quite lucid and profound. Hexagram 7 he calls discipline. Other titles might be the army, the symbol of multitude and of army, legions, leading, the troops, collective force, discipline, soldiers, group action, a disciplined multitude, ego discipline, willpower, a quote from D.F. Hook, can refer to mourning, but its essential meaning is discipline. Judgment, blowfold. Persistence in a righteous course brings to those in authority good fortune and freedom from error. If the inquiry is not concerned with military affairs, we must interpret this hexagram symbolically in the sense that life is a battle. Ritzema/Karcher, legions, trial, respectable people, significant, without fault. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of unorganized crowds or bunches of things. It emphasizes that organizing these things into functional units is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to lead. The image, leg, water in the midst of the earth, the image of discipline. The superior man nourishes and educates the people and collects from among them a mighty army. Commentary, Confucius/leg. Discipline describes the masses who make up the army, and the firm correctness referred to means a morally correct intent. When the leader uses the masses with such correctness, he may fulfill the ruler's will. The focus of strength in the second line is responded to by his proper correlate in the ruler's place. Although action is dangerous, it accords with the best sentiments of men, and although the leader may distress the country, the people will still follow him. There will be good fortune and no error. Leg. Discipline is symbolized here by the conduct of a military expedition. The arrangement of the lines suggests the idea of a general surrounded by his troops. The dynamic yang line in the center of the lower trigram has the confidence of the magnetic ruler in the fifth place. Entire trust is reposed in him because he is strong and correct. He is referred to as an old and experienced man, hence all of his enterprises will succeed. Perilousness is the attribute of the lower trigram, and docility or accordance with others that of the upper. War is like poison to a country, painful and potentially ruinous, and yet the people will endure it on behalf of the sovereign whom they love and respect. In regard to the image, Chu Hsi says, As the water is not outside the earth, so soldiers are not outside the people. Therefore, if a ruler is able to nourish the people, he can get the multitudes for his armies. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Discipline directed by willpower and serious intent advances the work. Or, with experienced judgment and proper will and intent, there will be a good outcome. The superior man trains and nourishes his powers to build an invincible unity. The English word infantry, meaning foot soldiers, the backbone of any army, is derived from the French word enfant, meaning infant or child. This ancient association was made because a good military officer was expected to treat his soldiers as if they were his own children, with a stern but loving discipline designed to improve their character. This concept is what the image alludes to when it says, "The superior man nourishes and educates the people and collects from among them a mighty army." Psychologically interpreted, the idea is that the ego complex is the general officer in the second line that nourishes, educates, and controls the other complexes within the psyche. This can only be accomplished through discipline, and thus I have chosen that name for the hexagram rather than the more usual title of the army. With the only dynamic line of the hexagram placed in the center of the lower trigram, we have an image of the position of the ego complex in relation to the rest of the psyche. The magnetic ruler in line 5 represents the self, isolated from direct physical involvement and dependent upon the dynamic ego to carry out the work in the material dimension. The 7th hexagram, therefore, shows the work from the ego's point of view. Hexagram number 8, holding together, is the inverse of this image and shows the work from the self's point of view outside of space-time. There it is the dynamic 5th line ruler who is the focal point, an image of the self surrounded by its satellites. In that dimension, the second line ego complex is only another magnetic complex in the company of other magnetic complexes. Ideally, the lower complexes within the psyche should be magnetic in relation to a dynamic ego, but the ego is always magnetic in relation to the dynamic self. From the self's point of view, all of its complexes are its magnetic children, or infantry. Hexagrams 7 and 8 should be studied together as reversed images to get a full comprehension of each. The images in the lines of discipline all deal with the management of forces as a coordinated whole. As long as they are under the firm command of the ego, who is only a general carrying out the orders of the self, things proceed successfully. If the discipline breaks down and the ego general loses control, defeat is certain. A quote from Yamamoto Tsunetomo in the Book of the Samurai. Noritomi Hyogo said, "What is called winning is defeating one's allies. Defeating one's allies is defeating oneself. And defeating oneself is vigorously overcoming one's own body. It is as though a man were in the midst of 10,000 allies, but not one were following him. If one hasn't previously mastered his mind and body, he will not defeat the enemy." And then our supporting hexagram, 48. James Dekorne calls the well. Other titles might be Welling, Potentialities Fulfilled, The Source, The Deep Psyche, a quote from D.F. Hook. A resurrection or transformation, generations coming and going, and the continuance of life and development. Judgment, leg. Although a town's site may be altered, the well remains the same. Its water level neither disappears nor receives any great increase, and the people can draw from it freely. Misfortune ensures if the rope breaks or the bucket is broken before it reaches the water. Blofeld, a well. A city may be moved, but not a well. The building of a city depends upon ourselves, but wells cannot be moved to places where nature supplies no water. The implication is that our activities are limited by natural conditions. A well suffers from no decrease and no increase, but often, when the people come to draw water there, the rope is too short or the pitcher gets broken before reaching the water. Misfortune. What we desire is therefore the taking, but we may not succeed in getting it. Ritsuma/Karcher, the well, amending the capital, not amending the well, without losing, without acquiring, going, coming, welling, muddy culmination, truly not yet the well rope well, ruining one's pitfall. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the life water coming from the depths that everyone may draw on. It emphasizes that maintaining access to this central source is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time. You are told to go to the well. The image. Leg. The image of water over wood forms the well. The superior man comforts the people and stimulates their mutual cooperation. Wu, there is water above wood. This is the well. Thus, the Junsi, or chief son or superior person, encourages people to work for the good of the public and to help one another for a better life. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Wood penetrates the water and raises it, giving the image of the well, which gives nourishment yet is not exhausted. The dynamic central lines in the second and fifth places indicate that the town site may change, but the well does not. If the rope does not reach the water, the well does not serve its purpose. A broken bucket brings about evil. Leg. The upper trigram represents water, and the lower symbolizes wood, giving the image of a wooden bucket in the water of a well. What is said on this hexagram might be styled, "Lessons to be learned from a well for the proper government of a country." A well is to its users what a government is to its subjects, and if rulers would only apply the ancient precepts of government to the present circumstances, they and their people would benefit greatly. In the judgment, we see the well remaining substantially the same through many changes of society, a dependable source of refreshment to its users. As the fashion of the well remains changeless, so do the principles of human nature and good government. The value of the well depends upon the water being drawn up and used, and so must the principles of good government be implemented. Anthony, this hexagram usually indicates that we have a hidden doubt or fear. We may secretly disbelieve our path. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Amid the changes of life, the only constant is the psyche itself. To be alive is to draw upon its energy. The ego's challenge lies in the correct comprehension of its images. The superior man promotes the harmonious interplay of his thoughts and feelings, works on the integration of his complexes. A well is a universal symbol of a source of inner truth and is often associated with a place that is sacred to the gods. Quote from Genesis 26:25. There he built an altar and invoked the name of Yahweh. There he pitched his tent, and there Isaac's servants sank a well. A quote from Cardinal Nicholas of Cusa. From the first well, which is of animal nature and deep, the father drinks, together with his children and cattle. From the second, which is yet deeper and on the very margin of nature, there drink only the children of men, namely those whose reason has awakened and whom we call philosophers. From the third, the deepest of all, drink the sons of the All-Highest, whom we call gods and true theologians. Psychologically interpreted, a well symbolizes the continuously flowing unconscious psyche, the fountain of all awareness. In this hexagram, each line represents a level within the well, by extension suggesting a hierarchy of value in the unconscious. It is important to remember that not all of our inner images, intuitions, or impulses come from the self. Note that lines 1 through 4 all show the water of the well not being utilized for one reason or another. Only in lines 3, 5, and 6 is it actually available for use. A quote from Roberto Osseagoli in Psychosynthesis. In some sensitive individuals, there is an awakening of parapsychological perceptions. They have visions which they believe to be of exalted beings. They may hear voices or begin to write automatically, accepting the messages at their face value and obeying them unreservedly. The quality of such messages is very varied. Sometimes they contain fine teachings, but they should always be examined with much discrimination and sound judgment, and without being influenced by their uncommon origin or by any claim by their alleged transmitter. No validity should be attributed to messages containing definite orders and commanding blind obedience, and to those tending to exalt the personality of the recipient. The ego's point of view in relation to the well is from the outside looking in. The insights emerge from beneath the surface of awareness and can be held in the light of consciousness only if one's comprehension is able to contain them. If the bucket breaks, our understanding is unequal to our observation and the insights are lost. One might plausibly find the image for a cancer cure within one's psyche, but without a conscious frame of reference to acknowledge it, it would be unrecognized and lost. Those who closely monitor their dreams know that there is an endless outpouring of strange images within the psyche which might be of inestimable value if only we knew what they referred to. Wilhelm emphasizes the idea of nourishing the people, which psychologically means that the role of the ego is to facilitate the cooperation of intrapsychic forces. A quote again from Roberto Osseagoli in Psychosynthesis. The solution lies rather along the lines of a harmonious integration of all drives into the total personality, first through the proper subordination and coordination, and then through the transformation and sublimation of the excessive or unused quota of energy. Back to our primary hexagram 7. Discipline is what he calls it, to read our changing lines 3 and 5, which again have the general context of changing line 3, an emerging identity facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. And changing line 5, strength and self-determination, clear vision, being in command. These again are our most focused part of our reading. Put a pin in the map and say you are here. Here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. They may not agree with one another, but we will wrestle with that ourselves. Leg. The third line magnetic shows how the army may possibly have many inefficient leaders. There will be evil. Lu. The army carries corpses, misfortune. This is a time of sudden mourning. Wu. The army may have to cart back corpses. This will be foreboding. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Possibly the army has idle leaders. Great will be its want of success. Wilhelm/Baines. This is quite without merit. Blowfold. This indicates a serious defeat. Ritsema/Karcher. The great without achievement indeed. Cleary 2. When the army has casualties, that is a great lack of success. Wu. Despite its large number, it does not succeed. Leg. Canon McClatchy translates this as represents soldiers as it were lying dead in their baggage carts and is unlucky. Line 2 is the only legitimate leader of the army. Line 3 is magnetic in a dynamic place, as if she had jumped over the leader and perched herself above him to take command. In military operations, there must be one ruling will in mind. A divided authority is sure to bring failure. Notes and paraphrases. Su. Defeat ensues when others interfere with the authority of the chosen ruler. Divided command is often fatal. Wing. There is an absence of vision and leadership. Whether it is a matter of divergent goals or whether the acting leader is simply inept, the result is the same, misfortune. Editor. Psychologically interpreted, this line describes one of the most fundamental yet least recognized truths of human consciousness, the fact that unity of awareness is mostly illusory. Indeed, the whole goal of the work is to actually attain this unity which we think we already possess. Leg's metaphorical equation of corpses with inefficient leaders is not always apt. In its most neutral interpretation, the line can depict a situation of, as Lu says, sudden mourning or overwhelming grief. A quote from Gurdjieff, "Man has no individual I. but there are instead hundreds and thousands of separate small eyes, very often entirely unknown to one another, never coming into contact, or on the contrary, hostile to each other, mutually exclusive and incompatible, and each separate small eye is able to call itself by the name of the whole, to act in the name of the whole, to agree or disagree, to give promises, to make decisions with which another eye or the whole will have to deal. He breaks down line 3 into 3 possible succinct definitions, A, B, and C. A, are you in charge of your thoughts and feelings, or do they make your choices for you? B, be on guard against inferior elements within yourself or the situation. C, suggests dead weight, useless baggage, beliefs, etc. And then changing line 5. Leg, the 5th line magnetic shows birds in the fields, which it will be advantageous to seize and destroy. In that case, there will be no error. If the oldest son leads the host and the younger men idly occupy offices assigned to them, however firm and correct he may be, there will be evil. Blowfold, wild beasts roam the field. To avoid error, speech should be guarded. The eldest son is in command. The younger son carts away the corpses. Persistence would lead to calamity. Wu, there are prisoners of war in the field. It will be advantageous to uphold the mission of the military action. No blame. The eldest son commands the army. A younger son carts back corpses. Even with perseverance, it will be foreboding. The 5th is a ruler's position, but it is now occupied by a yin. Hence, the occupant becomes a weak administrator. The elder man and the eldest son refer to the same second line, the commander. Commentary, Confucius/Leg, the army's movements are directed by the oldest son in accordance with his position in the center. The employment of younger men who idly occupy their posts is improper. Wilhelm/Baines, let the eldest lead the army because he is central and correct. The younger transports corpses. Thus the right man is not put in charge. Blowfold, the moving line in the center of the upper trigram indicates that the elder son is in command. The younger son is put in charge of carrying away the corpses because he is unsuited to worthier employment. This line may refer to the suitability or otherwise of a person required to fill an important post in any sort of organization or in carrying out some scheme. Wu, his orders are given from the center because the appointment is a poor choice. Leg, in line 5 we have an intimation of the important truth that only defensive war or war waged by the rightful authority to put down rebellion and lawlessness is right. The birds in the field symbolize parties attacking for plunder. The 5th line symbolizes the ruler who is humble and magnetic and in the center. She cedes the use of all her power to the general in line 2. Line 2 is the oldest son, and lines 3 and 4 are the younger brother and son, i.e. the younger men who would cause evil if allowed to share the command. In military operations, there must be one ruling will in mind. A divided authority is sure to be a failure. Notes and paraphrases. Su, invasion occurs. A seasoned soldier is chosen to lead the army to victory and to prevent needless slaughter of the defeated people. Wing, rely on an experienced person to lead the way in correcting the situation. He must be moderate in his behavior and not overreactive, for this would lead to misfortune. Inexperienced and enthusiastic persons are now inappropriate for the job of deliberate and controlled leadership. Editor, this line contains ambiguities, yet the general image is clear enough. It is a restatement of lines 2 and 3. A strong leader is essential for success. Nevertheless, all except Leg's translation contain a final sentence stating that perseverance leads to misfortune, which seems to contradict the earlier advice to pursue the gain. As written, it is not clear whether this applies to the situation in general or only in the case of incompetent leadership. If this is the only changing line, the hexagram thus created is number 29, danger, suggesting that you carefully examine the situation at hand, consolidate your control, and advance cautiously. A quote from Epictetus. Know you not that the thing is a warfare? One man's duty is to mount guard, another must go out to reconnoitre, a third to battle. All cannot be in one place, nor would it even be expedient. But you, instead of executing your commander's orders, complain if aught harsher than usual is enjoined, not understanding to what condition you are bringing the army, so far as in you lies. If all were to follow your example, none would dig a trench, none would cast rampart around the camp, none would keep watch or expose himself to danger, but all turn out useless for the service of war. Thus it is here also. Every life is a warfare, and that long and various. You must fulfill a soldier's duty, and obey each order at your commander's nod. I, if it be possible, divine what he would have done. For between that commander and this, there is no comparison, either in might or in excellence. He breaks down line 5 into one succinct possible definition. A, there is work to be done, but if you allow inferior elements to influence your judgment, disaster will ensue. Now we will read the same from Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. Primary hexagram 7. She also calls the army. Key questions. What are you aiming for? How can you get more from your strengths? With all your efforts, are you creating the life you want? Oracle. The army with constancy. Mature people, good fortune, no mistake. When there is cause, the ruler raises an army. This is a time when everything revolves around a central objective. Inner and outer resources are realigned and ordered in accordance with it. It's important that a mature leader take responsibility, not least so that intensity of focus does not become blinkered vision or pure belligerence, turning everything that is not the goal into the enemy. Balancing the drive to get it done with a measured, disciplined approach allows you to achieve your objective effectively with less collateral damage. Good fortune without a mistake. Image. In the center of the earth is a stream, the army. A noble one accepts the people and gathers together crowds. The stream within the earth flows strongly because the earth accepts and absorbs all the water that falls on it. A noble one builds an army with the same open acceptance. You can find your greatest strength in the flow of your whole self, by recruiting all your different character traits and hidden underground emotions. Sequence. The army follows from hexagram 6, arguing. Arguing naturally means that crowds rise up, and so the army follows. The army means crowds. First you react with indignation against the status quo. Then you begin to organize a way to change it. Crowds of people, energies, and resources gather around that original focal point of grievance. The emotions that began as mere reactive indignation become an inner reserve of strength. Pair. The army forms a pair with hexagram 8, seeking union. Seeking union means delight. The army means grieving. The choices of seeking union are made freely, following natural affinity, as the streams flow together over the earth. Those of the army whose work is needed to prepare for seeking union are driven by necessity. The ends must justify the means. When the army marches on its objective, look out for casualties and ruined fields. And our supporting hexagram 48, she calls the well. Key questions. What is the ever-present resource you draw from? What can you do to realize its potential here? Our supporting hexagram puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel. It shows what the primary hexagram means to us. Oracle. The well. Moving the city, not moving the well. Without loss, without gain. They come and go, the well wells. Almost drawn the water, but the rope does not quite reach the water, or breaking one's clay jug, pitfall. The people of ancient China would sometimes move a whole city to a more favorable site, and they could take everything with them except the well. You can transplant your center and change everything about your life except for the source you draw on to sustain it all. You cannot own this source, nor carry it with you. Whenever you move, you will need first of all to dig a new well to reach it. The well itself is utterly dependable. Nothing anyone can do will raise or lower the water level. People and experiences come and go. Time passes. The well is always the well and does not change. You need never doubt that you have these resources or that they are enough. The real question is whether you have the means to reach into such depths and a steady hand to bring up the water up into the real world without loss. To fail would be disastrous. The potential in the situation is undeniable, but it may still be a long way from realization. Image. Above the wood is the stream, the well. A noble one toils with the people, encouraging them to help one another. If you could lean over an old Chinese well and look down through the water, you would see a frame of logs at the bottom, used to retain the silty soil as it was dug. The noble one is as committed and involved in the well as the frame itself, inwardly as responsive as roots, outwardly pouring himself into the work like a flowing stream. The well is a vital shared resource. Everyone must cooperate to build and maintain it. Sequence. The well follows from hexagram 47, confined. Confined in reaching upward naturally means turning inward, and so the well follows. When you cannot reach upward and outward, you turn instead towards an inner source. The clear, life-giving water of the well is only to be found at the bottom of a very deep, dark pit. Back to our primary hexagram 7 to read our changing lines, which again have the context of changing line 3, an emerging identity facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision, and changing line 5, strength and self-determination, clear vision, being in command. These again stick a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. They may not agree with one another, and that being the case, we're to deal with that discordance and find out what it means for us. Line 3, perhaps the army carts corpses, pitfall. The corpses used to be filled with vitality, but now they're just dead weight. The mindset, strategy, or emotion that used to be an inspiring source of strength is now a lifeless husk. Time to lay it to rest. Carting it with you will do you real harm. And changing line 5, the fields have game, fruitful to speak of capture, no mistake. When the elder son leads the army and the younger son carts corpses, constancy, pitfall. There is game for the hunt. There is an opportunity or opening or challenge, something waiting to be grasped. The stakes are real. You're in a responsible position and must engage, and yet you're surrounded by unknowns. It's no mistake to take the time to discuss strategy and gather intelligence. There is an adult present to take charge, but there is also a rash, inexperienced youngster who might be unnerved by the unpredictable. He carts corpses. He will not lay the past to rest, instead clinging to its patterns almost like a talisman. But this is a time for an authentic, commensurate response, not to go on automatic pilot. There it is. We will read chapter 15 of the Tao Te Ching to wrap it up. And this is translated by Jia Fu Fang and Jane English. The ancient masters were subtle, mysterious, profound, responsive. The depth of their knowledge is unfathomable. Because it is unfathomable, all we can do is describe their appearance. Watchful, like men crossing a winter stream. Alert, like men aware of danger. Courteous, like visiting guests. Yielding, like ice about to melt. Simple, like uncarved blocks of wood. Hollow, like caves. Opaque, like muddy pools. Who can wait quietly while the mud settles? Who can remain still until the moment of action? Observers of the Tao do not seek fulfillment. Not seeking fulfillment, they are not swayed by desire for change.
All right, baby.